This is Rob Morse of the Self-Defense Gun Stories podcast. I'm reminding you that this podcast is one of the many good ones on the Self-Defense Radio Network. Check out the other podcasts at selfdefenseradio.net.
Pistols, prayer, and potluck. This is Armed Lutheran Radio.
Hello and welcome to Armed Lutheran Radio, a show about guns, hunting, competitive shooting, the natural right of self-defense, and what God's Word says about the issues surrounding gun rights and gun ownership. This is episode 192. By now I'm sure you have figured out this isn't the voice of Lloyd, this is the pistol-packing preacher, Pastor John Bennett. I am pinch hitting for Lloyd today as he is feeling under the weather. If all goes well, we will be back together again next week for Clinging to God and Guns. That was supposed to be this week, but because of circumstances being what they are, today we bring you a variety show instead. But before we get started, I want to remind you that Armed Lutheran Radio is a listener-funded podcast. So we could not do this without the help of our patrons, members of the Reformation Gun Club. People like Jeremy Saylor, Kathy Patton, Calroy, Paul Metzger, and our newest member, Eric Shroud. Thank you all for your support. It's this that makes Armed Lutheran Radio possible. So if you value what we do here, share the show with your friends. Join our Facebook group, Fans of Armed Lutheran Radio, or leave us a review on iTunes. And if you want to support us in a more personal way and get access to hundreds of hours of exclusive content, monthly hangouts with the cast, and some cool Armed Lutheran swag, consider joining the Reformation Gun Club. To find out about all the benefits, go to armedlutheran.us/gun club.
You can help support Armed Lutheran Radio just by listening to the show. Go to armedlutheran.us/radio and download the Radio Public app and start listening. Time now for Mia's Motivations with Mia Anstine.
Hey there, Gun Club and other followers who are soon to be Gun Club members. It's Mia, and I am taking a break from hunting today. It is second rifle season in Colorado, and the weather has been moderate, I would say. It's in maybe the 15 to 20 degrees in the morning up to maybe 40 in the afternoon. And I call that moderate because it's actually not extremely cold. It did snow a couple days ago, just a little dusting, and that actually is a good thing during elk hunting season and deer hunting. I actually have a deer hunting license. So I'm looking for a mature mule deer. I've seen a lot of little tiny guys that we call forkies, and that's when the antler just forks and has 2 points at one end on the one side or maybe on both sides. I did have somebody ask a while back about what to expect on their first elk hunt. And I wanted to talk about that a little bit today because it seems like whenever I have people come out to hunt, sometimes they're prepared and sometimes they're not. And I think it is because they don't know what to expect sometimes. Some people haven't really researched it. And I just gave you a little clue as to the weather. And so a big thing is having appropriate clothing. And I'll talk to you more about that in a second. But the other thing is where we are hunting is we live at 7,000 feet and we're hunting anywhere from 8,000 to 10,000. Sometimes we're all the way up to 11 or 12,000. When I got that archery bull last year, that was above a tree line. So that was way up there. And so you have to be prepared for higher elevations, which means thinner air, meaning also that if you live at sea level, it's going to be difficult to breathe. If you can plan a couple days ahead to get to your hunting area so you can kind of acclimate, that is a really good thing. If you do live at sea level, you may want to maybe get to 6,000 feet, spend a day there, then get up to 8,000 or 9,000 feet, spend a day or two there. Altitude sickness is a real thing and it's a very dangerous thing, and I will talk to you about that in a future episode. As far as your firearm, if you look at any states, I'm speaking on a Colorado reference as far as where I'm coming from is I live in Colorado, and New Mexico is very similar, but if you look at the state's regulation guides, it'll tell you what the minimum caliber is for hunting elk and deer, and you need to at least have that minimum. You also need to consider that most elk hunting is spot and stalk. That means you're going to be at that higher elevation, you're going to be looking for elk, and you're going to be doing a lot of hiking. The number one thing that I always tell people if you're preparing for an elk hunt is get in shape. And that doesn't mean going for a stroll around the block. It means load your backpack up, put 50 pounds of weight in it, and go hiking up hills or mountains. If you don't have anywhere you live, go down to the local track and go up and down those bleachers with that loaded pack. A big thing when we're hunting is people are at higher altitudes, they're not in shape, they can't breathe, they can't get steady for a shot. So you have got to be in shape to hunt in the high country in Colorado. Another thing that I would suggest is get your boots ahead of time. Get boots that are insulated, waterproof, that have good lug soles. You don't want to have too much insulation in these more mild seasons. As I said, this is mild. And why I say mild is because there's not snow on the ground yet and you are hiking, so your body generates body heat. When it starts to snow and you're not hiking around as much, you do want the thicker insulated boots. So that's important. I will go through a little gear list for you as far as things you need. And first of all, you have to have hunter education in order to get your hunting license. And before you go hunting, you have got to have that in your pocket. So a hunting license, your gun or bow. Right now it's gun season. And for that, you also need your proper ammunition and arrows. Bring extras, because if you make a bad shot, if you need to take follow-up shots, you need to have extra ammunition. Plus, you need to sight in before you head out to hunt. So you need ammunition for sight-in day. I mentioned boots. You also need socks, and not cotton socks. Do not wear cotton socks. You want something that is a wool or a wool blend sock or a polypropylene blend sock. Something that's going to keep your feet warm, but also if your feet sweat, you're not going to get cold. Cotton, you will chill in that, and that's not a good thing. You're also going to need warm layer clothing. Again, not cotton. Look for heavy jackets and pants. A must that you must have, anybody's pack should have a rain jacket and pants. You need rain gear. You also need gloves, nice warm gloves. Practice shooting with those so that you know if you can get your fingers into the trigger guard without pressing the trigger till you're ready. You need blaze orange hat and vest if you are hunting during gun season. A map and a compass are really good to have. I know a lot of us have GPS nowadays, but I always keep a map and compass as a backup in case batteries die or something like that. A rangefinder is really important. And binoculars. Good optics are your best friend when you're spot and stalk hunting. As far as optics as well, on your rifle, look for good optics. Don't go buy $100 cheapo at Walmart. You know, this is a really important hunt. Get something really good. A headlamp and extra batteries. You need a hunting knife and a sharpener because hopefully you're going to make that good shot and you're going to need to take care of that animal. Game bags are important. 50 foot of nylon rope or parachute cord can come in very handy. Flagging tape can also come in handy if you need to mark the trail into where you shot the animal so that you can bring friends to help you get that out. Or if you're packing it out yourself, you need to find your way back. All of that needs to go into a day pack. A multi-tool is helpful. Hand warmers are very helpful. Sometimes people use bug spray. I don't ever bring bug spray when I'm elk hunting. Matches and emergency fire starter. There is a great one that I have found made by Zippo, and I will send Lloyd that link to share with you guys because it's a waterproof one and starts really easy. I also always carry a first aid kit in my pack, and then I also carry personal hygiene items, toothbrush, toothpaste, sunscreen. Dental floss comes in really handy for a lot of things if you have actual dental floss, not just the floss picks. Also a water filtration bottle so that you can rehydrate. It's something that I always have, and people laugh because I call it mountain money, and that is toilet tissue, because you would be surprised when people need some of that, they may pay you a ton of money. Another thing is sunscreen and chapstick. The sun in the higher elevations is really severe, and you need to protect yourself. Your lips will get chapped, especially if the wind is blowing and the temperatures are a little more crisp. I use a jet boil and a fuel cell to heat up food if I'm out in the woods. If you're not going to be out there and you don't want to carry that, you don't have to. I also carry a solar charger and cords so I can recharge my cell phone. And then I always have snacks. I bring maybe a Mountain House dehydrated meal, jerky, nuts, fruits. One of my other favorites is peanut butter and jelly sandwich. I would love to know your favorites. A cell phone and a charger. If you have service, you might be able to send messages and let people know what your favorites are. If you're used to carrying a camera, then bring your camera, the battery, and SD cards. I take most pictures with my cell phone nowadays. But if you have more questions on what to expect on your first hunt, it really is hard to be precise with that because all hunts are different and it depends the location, the season, the time of year, the method of take. There are a lot of factors that weigh into that. But if you're coming on to Colorado on an elk hunt, be prepared to work hard and get in shape for that hunt. I will talk to you again next time. Bye, guys.
You can read more from Mia, watch her YouTube videos, or check out her podcast, Mac Outdoors with Mia and Leah, at miaanstine.com. Time now for another Ballistic Minute with Sergeant Bill Sylvia.
Hey everybody, I'm Sergeant Bill, and this is your Ballistic Minute. Today I'm going to continue my specificity training, or specific training, and today we're going to talk about your slide lock reload. So when you're doing a slide lock reload, the really specific things about it is you need to drop a mag, get to your spare mag, and then to really, really nail this, the specific things you need to do is look inside that mag well for your insertion. So a little trick that I do is I take either a white or a red paint pen and I put a spot inside the mag well so that after I drop the mag and I turn the gun in my hand and I'm ready to put that next mag into it, I'm looking for that spot so that I can take this spare mag that's in the other hand and just aim for that spot. It kind of gives you something to aim for so that you're not just kind of randomly trying to stab the mag into that mag well of your gun. Then as you're seating the magazine into the gun, you need to move your vision to your slide release so that you can drop the slide. Because where your eyes go, it's easy for your hands to go. It's called hand-eye coordination. By looking at the slide release button, it will make you much more consistent on hitting that slide release so that you don't have a bobble in trying to hit the button, which everybody's had that at one time or another. Most of the time it's because they were already looking at their target. So after you've looked at the button, you've hit the button, you've released it, now you need to shift your focus, your eyes, back to your target and then back to your sights so that you can resume shooting that target and finishing that stage. It sounds kind of easy, but it's that hand-eye or eye-hand coordination that is really paramount in making your reload, your slide lock reloads, so consistent. If you look to that spot where you want the magazine to go into the mag well, and then you look to that spot, the slide release button that you want to hit to release the slide, and then you're looking to your target, you've got to move your eyes where you need your hands to be. So where the eyes look, the hands will go. Speed in shooting sports is fantastic, but consistency is even better. So you want to have both. If you can be fast and consistent, that's the best way to do it. If you are fumbling a slide lock reload or any kind of reload and you don't know why, look at what you're specifically looking at. Are you looking into the mag well as you insert the magazine in? Are you looking to the slide release button as you're reaching up with your other hand to hit it? Those specific little things will make your reload much more consistent. I'm Sergeant Bill. This has been your Ballistic Minute.
Sergeant Bill Sylvia is a veteran of the Dallas Police Force and a masterclass competitive shooter. You can check out his YouTube videos at armedlutheran.us/Sergeant Bill.
Hello to all of you who are gun enthusiasts, protectors of the Second Amendment, and the rest of you who are simply wrong. My name is Pastor Gaven Mize. I'm the pastor of Augustana Evangelical Lutheran Church in Hickory, North Carolina, and I'm bringing you this segment today to make you aware of this week. This week is Awful Argument Awareness Week. This is very important to you, and you may have not known that this is Awful Argument Awareness Week. The reason you may not have known is because I made it up about 2 days ago. Now, the irony about the Awful Argument Awareness Week is that it's every week. As long as there is stupidity, and there are bad arguments, and there are people who employ logical fallacies, we must bring awareness to these things. As long as they exist, so will Awful Argument Awareness Week. Happens every week, every day, and I got a good example for you today. See, we who care about the gun debate and we who really want to protect our right to have ourselves armed so that we can not only protect ourselves, our families, but also our communities. And because it is a right that is given unto us, which also therefore makes it a duty of ours. So, with all of that in mind, we who stand up for gun rights have to also differentiate and section off the Christian who believes in gun rights, and the secularist or the one or the atheist who also happens to believe in gun rights, because our arguments rarely should be employed together unless the argument is made or the debate is made where unassailable logic is employed. And I'll give you a very good example of this. On the left side of the aisle, you will oftentimes hear in the abortion debate this point: if you don't have a uterus, you don't have the right to tell a woman what to do with her body. Now, aside from all of the logical fallacies there, number one, the presupposition or the assumption that that's what men do is that they are telling a woman what to do with their bodies based on the fact that we like for people to be alive. We prefer them to be alive rather than dead. So advocating for the unborn is not a fascist understanding, is not a totalitarian way of saying, look, lady, I'm a guy, and this is what you're going to do with your uterus. Absolutely ridiculous. But that argument, and that's not to speak of women who have hysterectomies, for example. Are they allowed to, quote unquote, tell women what to do with their bodies? No one can tell a person what to do with their bodies. If they could, psychology and therapy would be much easier than it is today. For example, a person who is showing signs of suicidal tendencies, it would be much easier to then tell them, don't do it. Do me a favor, go home, don't kill yourself. That's what you're going to do with your body. Of course, it doesn't work quite that way. But Christians who also fight for the right, or fight to keep our rights, to protect ourselves, to bear arms, we also have to make sure that we make an argument that has unassailable logic and not fall into the same trap as the example that I just gave on the left. that is, in particular, if you don't have a uterus, you can't tell me what to do with my body. Now, I want to give this example for your consideration very quickly, and it is from YouTube. Some of you may even know him. His name is Just Incredible TV, and he is a gun rights advocate. However, I want you to notice how a bad argument makes the good argument sound less credible, is actually quite silly.
You don't know the difference between automatic and semi-automatic. You've never held a firearm in your life. You shouldn't have a say in the gun debate. End of story.
No! That's the exact same argument that the liberals make when it comes to pro-life and pro-choice. If you don't have a uterus, you don't have a say in the life debate. If you haven't held a gun, you don't have a say in the gun debate. Of course they do. They can have a wrong opinion, but of course they have a place in the gun debate. I think that if you are someone who hasn't held a gun and have an opinion on the gun debate, then you need to hold one and educate yourselves. But to say that holding a gun somehow gives you a better opinion about the debate is just silly. Just like having a uterus doesn't intrinsically make your argument of why you should kill a baby better than someone with different tackle than you. Okay, let's listen to it one more time, and then listen to his second point, where he makes a very good point, but it's already overshadowed by a very bad one.
Automatics have been banned since the 80s in the USA. Semi-automatics are not assault rifles.
There you go. That is a good one. Assault rifles have been banned since the 80s. But it gets right to the point. So if that argument, if you've never held a gun, then you do not have what it takes to be in the gun debate. You shouldn't have an opinion. End of story. Well, if that's the end of the story, then why is he continuing to make his point? Doesn't make sense. Why? Because he knows that the first one is a bad argument. So, dear Christians, all of you out there, when you want to make an argument against something, and you want to stay off the highlight reels of Awful Argument Awareness Week, do this. Make a point, and make your point as succinct as possible. And so, whereas those who may not have the same Christian beliefs and yet still stand for the Second Amendment, it's important that we also notice, as Christians, that we can't fall into their line of thinking and debating, because we may be putting ourselves behind the 8 ball, and that's not somewhere that you want to be.
I want to take a minute here to thank our partner, the Armed Citizens Legal Defense Network. If you're involved in a situation where you have to use your firearm in self-defense, you very well may find yourself in a legal battle against overzealous prosecutors or the families of the criminal who you shot or threatened, who are looking to deprive you of your freedom or your hard-earned savings. You may find yourself charged with a crime or facing a civil lawsuit even if you did nothing wrong. That's where Armed Citizens Legal Defense Network comes in. For a small yearly fee, they will provide you with money for attorneys, money for bail, consultations, and access to experts like Marty Hayes and Masad Ayub. Don't face the fight alone. Visit Armed Citizens Network today. Use the promo code ARMEDLutheran-25. Save $25 off your first year's membership, or you can grab the coupon on my website, armedlutheran.us. Sign up today. They will send you lots of cool resources, 8 instructional DVDs, and a book by Masad Ayub that I cannot recommend highly enough. Don't wait until you need their help. Be prepared. Sign up today. Visit armedcitizensnetwork.org.
Hello everyone, I'm Willie Grills, here to talk to you a little bit about the state of the firearms industry in the current year. Now, as many of you know, the market has changed in the last 2 to 3 years. I can remember the panic markets of just a few years ago. You couldn't keep ARs on the shelves, and high-capacity 9mm were a hot commodity. The market really got used to these inflated prices and this incredibly high demand for only a couple types of items. But now the market has shifted, and it is in something of a downturn. And while at first that might make us worry, and we should as far as manufacturing jobs and other things are concerned, it has also led to a drop in prices and to new products and innovation. We're truly living in a buyer's market. Now, you can go out, you can find a cheap AR-15 if you want right on the shelf. You can find a very expensive AR-15 off the shelf and take it home the same day if you want to, depending on your location. You can build an AR, parts are available, things are cheap. But what if you want something different? What are you supposed to do? What is the savvy gun owner going to find on the shelf? Well, a lot of new products, a lot of interesting things, and a lot of old favorites coming back. Concealed carry laws certainly changed the market, and we're kind of living at a time near 2006 or 2007 right now, when the LCP came out. The Ruger LCP came out, and the gun world was revolutionized. We now have a very, very small pocket .380 that we can carry around. Apologies to the Kel-Tec P3AT. But now we have a product like the SIG P365 that's been out about a year or a year and a half now that's totally revolutionized the carry market again. And just in the last few months, we've seen innovations on that line, and it continues to sell strongly. We've seen, just in the last month, Springfield's newest offer, the Hellcat, which seeks to take a chunk out of the P365 market. Super compact 9mm that are meant for concealed carry. The gun culture is certainly very strong. Beretta, my favorite handgun of all time, the Beretta 92, has received a bit of a facelift. In the last few years, you saw the M9A3 come out, and then you started to see the Wilson Combat 92s and the Langdon Tactical 92s, but what I'm really excited about is the new Beretta 92X. It's a modular 92 system from Beretta. I don't think we'd be seeing that if we were still living in the panicked market of a few years ago. And now, perhaps most notably, we're seeing the renaissance of the pistol caliber carbine. You're seeing a few old designs come back, MP5 clones and similar. You also see Ruger stepping back into pistol caliber carbines, and you're seeing all manner of AR-15 manufacturers and others giving us small carbines that shoot handgun calibers. These are great. They're good for home defense, for competition, and for plinking. We're seeing all kinds of people enter into competitive shooting and the shooting sports. You're looking at cowboy action shooting making a comeback, and even new cowboy action firearms being introduced from companies like Cimarron and Uberti. It is an exciting time to be a part of the gun culture. Now, we're looking upon another election year, and we're probably going to see panicked markets again. But I'm telling you, calm down, go vote, things will be okay. For now, it's a buyer's market. Let's enjoy it. Let's go out if we can afford it, or if we can trade towards it, and try out some of these new designs and see how they are. As always, in the midst of this, support your local FFL. Without your local firearms dealer, we won't have access to firearms for much longer. Take a look at great podcasts like this, which are doing what they can to fight for your rights and are even taking a theological approach to the gun culture. It's a very good time to be a part of the gun culture, and it's a very interesting time for the gun industry. So let's support it while we can. Let's encourage innovation where it is. Let's keep praying for our nation, for our country, and let's keep passing on the traditions of self-reliance, self-defense, and liberty on to the next generation. Thanks for listening, folks. I'm Willie Grills. God love you, and God bless.
Well, that's all for this episode. We hope you enjoyed it. Hopefully, if all things go well, it will be Lloyd and myself next week bringing you a segment of Being to God and Guns. Until then, God's blessings to you, and we'll talk to you next time.
For show notes, be sure to visit our website at www.armedlutheran.us. Check out the Facebook page, The Armed Lutheran, or join our Facebook group, Fans of Armed Lutheran Radio. If you like what you hear, please leave us a comment on our feedback page at armedlutheran.us/feedback or a review on iTunes and let us know what you think. Thank you for listening to Armed Lutheran Radio.